I stood on the stage, the warm lights on my face, feeling the energy of the crowd. My words about justice and fairness resonated, and I knew I was making a real difference. This work was my life's purpose, built on years of dedication and a deep belief in what was right. My reputation as a public advocate was something I cherished, earned through relentless effort. Sometimes, in my quiet moments, I'd think of Clara, my estranged sister. There was always a sharp edge to her, a constant hum of something unspoken, something like envy. We hadn't spoken in years, but her presence, a shadow from my past, still lingered in the back of my mind, a subtle unease I tried to ignore. It started with a notification, then another, a flurry of alerts on my phone. A link to a blog, then a video. Someone had dug up everything, every painful, private detail of our family's secret laid bare for the world. My stomach dropped as I read the headlines, seeing my name twisted into something ugly. The calls began instantly. My agent, my publicist, my biggest sponsors. Endorsements were canceled. Speaking engagements disappeared from my calendar. The public's trust, built over decades, crumbled in mere minutes. My inbox flooded with hateful messages, each one a fresh sting. I felt a cold, deep violation. This wasn't just an attack on my career. It was an attack on my very identity, on the person I had fought so hard to become. The secret I had guarded for so long, the pain I had buried, was now a public spectacle. I couldn't breathe. The air felt thick and heavy. This wasn't random. The details, the timing, the way it was presented, it was too precise, too cruel to be anything but planned. Someone had meticulously orchestrated this, knowing exactly where to strike to cause maximum damage. A cold dread settled in my chest, a terrifying realization. Only one person knew all those intimate details, the nuances of our past, the specific vulnerabilities. Clara, my sister. The thought was a bitter pill. Could she truly be capable of such calculated cruelty, of weaponizing our shared history against me for her own insidious motives? Then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. It was Clara. Her voice, falsely sweet, dripped with feigned concern. "Oh, Maya, I just saw the news. Are you all right? It's just awful." Her words were a knife twist, confirming my worst fears. I ended the call without a word, my hand shaking. Grief, raw and overwhelming, washed over me. Then anger, a hot, burning fury I hadn't felt in years. Fear for my future, for everything I had built, threatened to consume me. But beneath it all, a tiny spark, a defiant flicker of my old self, refused to be extinguished, a quiet strength emerging. They had tried to bury me, to erase my life's work. But I wouldn't let them. I would find out the full truth, expose the insidious motives behind this attack, and reclaim my story. A fierce, determined purpose solidified within me. This was far from over. I would fight back, no matter the cost. The first step was to understand the enemy. I sat for hours, my eyes glued to the screen, sifting through every hateful comment, every anonymous post, every malicious article. It was a dizzying, painful task, like reliving the betrayal over and over. But beneath the anger, a cold, clear determination grew. I would find the patterns, the hidden threads that tied this attack together. My future depended on it. Then, a jolt. A specific phrase, a nuanced detail about our family history appeared in multiple places, almost word for word. It was too precise, too intimate. My breath caught in my throat. This wasn't just random gossip. It was someone with inside knowledge, someone who shared my past. A chilling echo of Clara's voice, her particular way of seeing things, seemed to jump off the screen at me. Days later, an unexpected email arrived. It was from Sarah, a former assistant who had worked for me years ago. Her message was brief, discreet, hinting at something important she needed to share. When we spoke, her voice was hushed. She told me Clara had been asking questions, digging into my past, even trying to get access to old files. My stomach tightened. It confirmed my darkest suspicions. The confirmation from Sarah spurred me on. I started searching through old boxes in the attic, forgotten corners of my life. I found Clara's old journals, tucked away from years ago. Reading her words, seeing her resentment, her constant comparisons to me, was like a punch to the gut. The pages painted a picture of deep-seated envy, a chilling obsession with my life that had festered for decades. The journal entries, combined with the online attacks, led to a horrifying realization. Clara didn't just want to ruin me, she wanted to *be* me. She had been mimicking my advocacy style, my public persona, even trying to connect with people on my platform. It wasn't just revenge. It was an attempt to steal my identity, to usurp everything I had built. The sheer audacity of it left me breathless. I knew I couldn't confront her directly yet. My legal team sent a cease and desist letter, a formal warning to Clara to stop her malicious actions. Her response was swift and predictable, a vehement denial full of feigned innocence. But her words felt hollow. I could almost hear the false sweetness in her voice, a familiar deception. Her denial only solidified my resolve. The weight of her betrayal pressed down on me, heavy and suffocating. It wasn't just the public humiliation or the career loss. It was the gut-wrenching pain of knowing my own sister, my blood, had done this. I felt utterly alone, isolated by a wound so deep it seemed impossible to heal. The heartbreak was a constant ache, a reminder of a bond that had been twisted into something ugly. Just when I thought I might drown in despair, my old mentor, Alina, called. Her calm, steady voice was a lifeline. She reminded me of my strength, of the real impact my work had made, far beyond any public scandal. "Maya, your purpose is bigger than this," she said. Her words were a bomb, rekindling the spark of resilience within me. I was not alone, and my purpose was still true. Alina's words gave me new clarity. The fog of despair began to lift, replaced by a burning desire for justice. This wasn't just about clearing my name. It was about exposing Clara's insidious treachery, preventing her from harming anyone else. I began to meticulously plan my comeback, not just a defense, but a multifaceted counterattack. Every move had to be precise, every step calculated. After days of intense planning, the first step of my counterattack was ready. It was a bold move, designed to publicly draw Clara out of the shadows, to force her hand and expose her deceit. I looked at the final draft, a sense of quiet power settling in my chest. The tables were about to turn. Clara had no idea what was coming, but she would soon learn that I was not one to be easily broken. I walked onto the stage, the bright lights feeling like a spotlight on my soul. My heart beat a steady rhythm, a drum of resolve. This was it, the first step in taking back my story. I looked out at the faces, a sea of blurred expectations, and took a deep breath. I chose honesty, a calm vulnerability, knowing my truth was my greatest strength. It felt like standing bare, but also unshakable. My voice, clear and steady, filled the room. I spoke of the pain of betrayal, the careful planning behind a malicious attack, without ever naming Clara. I wove in details, subtle inconsistencies in the false narrative, letting the audience hear the calculated nature of the lies. It was like laying out puzzle pieces for them to connect. I felt a quiet power in speaking my truth, watching understanding dawn on faces in the crowd. Then, just as I expected, Clara reacted. I saw her hurried public statement on the news later that day. She tried to reclaim control, but her words were rushed, desperate, and full of the same false sweetness I knew so well. She overplayed her hand, making promises she couldn't keep, inadvertently exposing her own agenda. A cold wave of recognition of her hypocrisy washed over me. It was a clear sign she was losing her grip. My team worked tirelessly day and night. The office was a blur of documents and computer screens. Then, the breakthrough. They found it. Irrefutable proof of Clara's identity theft, the digital manipulation, the meticulously planned character assassination. Seeing the evidence laid out, concrete and undeniable, brought a surge of vindication. It was real, it was documented, and it was devastating for her. The moment of truth arrived in a quiet meeting room. We presented the evidence to key media figures and advocacy groups. I watched Clara's face fall as the undeniable truth was laid bare. I spoke calmly, letting the facts speak for themselves. There was no anger in my voice, only the steady presentation of her insidious motives and actions. It was a cold, decisive confrontation, not a shout, but a whisper of justice. The public opinion shifted quickly, like a tide turning. News headlines changed, social media buzzed with a new understanding. People began to see the clear pattern of her malicious manipulation, the profound sisterly betrayal. It was a relief, a weight lifting, but also a sadness. The truth had finally emerged, but at such a high cost to everyone involved, especially our family's name. I stood before a crowd again, this time with my head held high, my voice resonating with newfound strength. It wasn't just a defense. It was a reaffirmation of my commitment to truth, to resilience. I spoke of overcoming, of finding purpose even in pain. My advocacy felt amplified, my message clearer. I was not just reclaiming my reputation. I was reclaiming my voice, stronger and more authentic than ever before. Clara faced the immediate consequences. I heard of widespread public condemnation, of her fleeting influence completely collapsing. There were whispers of legal repercussions, of lost opportunities. There was no joy in her downfall, only a quiet, somber understanding. Her envy had consumed her, leaving a trail of destruction that ultimately led back to herself. It was a bitter end to a bitter path she had chosen. Slowly, painstakingly, I began to rebuild. My public platform, once shattered, was now stronger, built on a foundation of integrity and hard-won experience. The trust returned, deeper than before. I emerged not just respected, but more influential, my advocacy amplified by the journey I had endured. It was a testament to resilience, a quiet triumph over the darkness she had tried to cast. I found a profound peace, not in vengeful retribution, but in the powerful act of reclaiming my narrative, my identity. Authentic success, I learned, is built on integrity, not on tearing down others. Clara was left to confront the bitter, destructive consequences of her own envy alone. My story was now truly mine, written with resilience, and I had the last, quiet word.